John Rutherford, 62 Bramwell Road. This is the same circumstance. It's a non-conforming lot in a flood zone. Do the zoning board a favor and just, stop this one right here. I mean, because the zoning board is really overwhelmed with these cases. So, I mean, you heard from the neighbors. This is just not fair to the neighbors that live in that neighborhood. I mean, it's a garage that's been there for a while. If someone bought that thinking they were gonna do something, they made a bad investment, okay? We need places where there's green space. We should be actually tearing down houses and having green space instead of building new ones. I mean, it really doesn't make any sense. So, again, this is another person in this room against this project. Thank you.
Move to continue.
I'd like to address the board. I'm Donald Smith, I'm the owner of 31 Babcock Street. Everything that they're talking about in Stoughton Street, we know that was all marshland prior to. I grew up there in the 1960s. That was all marshland and everything. That's why they're flooding. I mean, this lot was formed in 1907 prior to any of those lots, any of those houses being built and everything. I just don't see where it's going to push in, and the water's not going to change one bit. The water's going to flow just as it is. The breakout panels are just going to let the water go in and out as it is. It's going to flood no matter whether the house is there or not. So that's all I can say, really. It's not going to be any change to anything.
I feel at this time, the board, John has been down there twice. I actually would like to go down there and take a look at it, and I don't know about Jim or Tori, or any of the other commissioners that are not here tonight, but we're going to make a motion to continue to September.
Second.
All in
Can we
favor?
ask that they produce a study?
Say that again?
Can we ask that they produce a study?
Yeah, if you want to push it as is, then you should get a drainage study.
Give your name again, please.
Anastas.
I think you might have to spell it.
A-N-A-S-T-A-S? P-A-N-O.
As I explained earlier, this is a single-family house. We're exempt from stormwater management regulations. We have, in good faith, added drainage protection. The house down the street that was in front of us earlier, it's not that far away. It's in the same flood zone. They're not being required to do a study.
Where is your added drainage?
It's different,
I'm looking at the plan right now. Where is your added drainage?
It's the swale in the back, the depression, the berm.
This, the berm?
Yep.
There's a big storage
Can I approach?
pipe that goes.
Oh, yeah, you can approach. That's this.
Yes.
Yeah, but all that is a small dike.
Yes, it holds back the water. But
Yeah.
we're just adding 164 square feet of impervious. So if you looked at peak runoff, which we did, that's what will hold back from increasing the peak runoff. Like it would be if you were going to meet stormwater standards. We don't have to, but we did. The house down the street, they're adding a whole 24 by 36, and they're not doing any drainage. They're in the same floodplain.
They're actually lower than you,
Than their neighbors.
than everybody else in the neighborhood.
The water's always going to go downhill.
Yeah.
Our site is elevation 8 at the front of the driveway, elevation 6 at the rear of the lot. We're not changing the grades. We're not increasing the grades to push more water there. We're actually trying to make things better with the house and the design that we're proposing.
What are these 4 3-inch PVC outlet pipes that you're putting through the berm?
So it allows the water to flow through, but at a slower rate. It's kind of like if you had a door and you were allowing water through it.
Yep.
If you close that door a little bit, only so much water can get through. So we slowed it down. So we'll hold some back and allow some to go through slowly.
Now, what about the water that's built up in the berm? Does that just flow up into my yard and the side yard? You just slow that down?
Well, you're gonna get water either way, because as you can see from the plan, you got slopes, okay, off to your side.
I can feel for you because I'm looking at this map. It says you're in the flood zone AE13. That's where my house is. So I get the same stuff. Okay.
So do you want to take a vote on this, or are we going to go for a continuance?
I'd like to go for a site visit to show.
I move to continue.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to move to continue.
And when there's only 3 votes on the other one, and they're both the same site, that will be continued until the 4th vote comes in. Okay?
So we're going to look at 49 again and 31.
Yep. Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, we already did, so you know, you
We've
gotta
only
do
got
is
3
compare.
people.
We need 4 people.
4 people?
Yeah. There are 4 of us, Joe.
Oh, there are 4
We do
now.
have
Oh,
a
yes.
way.
5.
Okay. Counting those.
So I am going to request that we move this to the September meeting, and you're going to see a few commissioners down there checking it out. And we'll get back to you in September with what we're feeling.
September 2nd, you know.
September 2nd?
First Wednesday.
Could I just say something?
Sure.
Between the Stoughton Street property and the
Have your name again, please?
Virginia Duffy. Between the Stoughton Street property and the Babcock, right in between, there's a, is it a storage pipe? What is it, a drain, some,
Culvert?
maybe,
Okay.
I don't know the names, but it comes from over at the ocean. And it goes all the way to the back of the fire station. They put that in umpteen years ago.
Okay.
So, you know, that's taken up. It used to be a creek right there. So that's space, you know, that's not absorbing water because it's a big pipe. You know?
Must be doing something.
Oh, yeah, well, that's, yeah.
And I'd like to say before everything was built back there on Stoughton Street, that used to be the drainage for all the water. That's how the water used to go away. Now they've filled the whole Stoughton Street thing in, so it's going nowhere. That's the real reason why there's flooding there.
Do we have your permission to go on your property to look at this?
Absolutely, my brother's there, he'll be, you know, if you go on,
Okay.
he'll see, so.
Can I say something? Name? Bashki, I live in Tracy.
We need your name again.
Bashki, B-A-S-H-K-I-M.
Okay.
Salier, last name S-A-L-I-E-J. I live in 36 Stoughton Street. Never grow up over there. And just for impression, I'd like to tell you that that garage is not a garage. Because when it's winter and cloudy, it swims over there. It's like a fish over there. It's nothing. Like a swim, yeah. It's nothing that we can discuss that in the new building, the flood, the moving water is going to be better in this. There are no moving water, there is no water there. Because it's close to my fence over there. It's the closest building I have over there. It's not adding some other structures, wherever they are, even 6 inch that you say. That it's a problem over there to us.
But it has been a problem for a long time, right?
Yeah. We, all the time, maybe I sent to city over here, maybe 10 or 15 papers to ask, can you please come over here and check out, drain my driveway or whatever you do, because now it's a big problem, that one. Big investment for city in the future. I don't know what they're gonna do for that. But building like this, where the water gonna go? Even for them, it's gonna be worse. Because the water is gonna go in the backyard of them. How they gonna live there? I don't know. And maybe they're gonna sell the house they buy, they built now. But I want to die there. So please, take in consideration this impression that practically there are no garage there. Thank you.
Do you want to make a meeting to meet there?
Yeah,
You available Saturday, anybody?
yep,
10 a.m.?
yep.
Okay, we're gonna be on the property at 10 a.m. Saturday.
Is it okay if I join you?
Of course, anyone that would like to be there can be there.
Us as well?
No.
Yep.
Okay, so this is a continued hearing and September 2nd.
Thank you.
We're gonna vote for continuance.
Move to continue.
All
Second.
in favor?
Forty-nine, we still got a right to go.
Yeah,
So we can add any conditions we want.
yep.
Thank you for that.
I saw it before, we were asking.
Usually there is a sign on the house.
Do you have that?
Yes, I did. Yeah, it was right here. But I didn't think that was it.
All vacancy. That was on the original.
Just for the record, there is 2,000 residents in Marina Bay.
Well, the
Yeah,
fact-
but they don't count.
the fact that you live
Nobody
there
counts.
is irrelevant.
Being a real estate agent, I know how many people live there.
If they wanted their own zip code, we wouldn't even give them that.
That would just add to more confusion. We don't need it.
Why don't you take this picture at like 2 a.m.? There's no cars on Quincy Shore Drive.
That's a real one.
1, 2, 3. That's Quincy Shore Drive right there. There's no traffic.
What is this structure exactly?
This is the one that, the no name road.
Behind Shea House.
What?
It's behind the big, farm.
Quincy Shore Drive is up here, just to the bridge. And this is the last turn off. If you want to go down Marina Bay.
I have this backwards in my
Are
mind.
we ready to start with 500 Commander Shea Boulevard? Is it 500? No, that 500 is Boston Scientific, sorry. Nope, it is 500, okay. Is there someone here?
I was just waiting for you to invite us up. For the record, my name is Gene Crouch. I'm a senior environmental scientist with Vanessa and Bresson. We're the engineers for the project. And what the project entails is some roadway improvements to Commander Shea Boulevard and what's called No Name Road. It's a road between two condominiums that lead out to, I keep forgetting the name of it. Quincy Shore Drive. Thank you.
Edgewater Place.
Pardon?
Edgewater Place is the condominium.
And Stevens.
But the road has no name, so that's why we
That's
call
right.
it No Name
But
Road.
you've got 500 up here,
That's correct.
and 133 Commander Shea here where the no-name street is.
Yeah.
And you're using a 500 address, and that's what threw me off.
Oh, I'm sorry. Our client, the road, Commander Shea Boulevard is a private
It's
road.
owned by 500.
That's
You're
correct.
Right, there you go, okay, I
That's
understand now.
Yeah, if I
Who
can
do
just
you
go.
represent? Who do you represent?
We represent the owner.
Of what?
Boston Scientific
Yes.
would be the owner.
So this is Commander Shea, and this is a private road. This is owned by Boston Scientific. This is No Name Road, which is actually owned equally by the adjacent condominiums. They own to the center line. And what we're proposing to do, there's currently an issue with trucks coming down the road, wanting to take right turn onto No Name. They stop and they block the traffic from anybody trying to get through. Basically, a truck coming down wanting to turn to go up to Quincy Shore Drive, they can't get by, or the flow-through traffic can't get by, so it backs up. And so what we have been asked to do is actually add a lane, a turning lane in here, so that the turning truck traffic can get out of the flow-through traffic. It can sit waiting for its turn to make the turn, and the flow-through traffic can continue on unimpeded. So that's what the project's all about. In the process of making these improvements to Commander Shea, we're also making improvements to No Name Road, improving the road surface, adding sidewalks, shoulders, and actually coming out to make some improvements at the intersection where this is a DCR roadway, as you're probably aware. There actually is not a crosswalk and wheelchair ramps at the intersection. And part of what we'll do is to do that, to add those to the intersection, to upgrade the intersection to current standards.
Are you doing anything about the no-name flooding? The street floods out all the time.
There's nothing we can do about that because it's a tidal flood zone. It's coming in from the ocean. If we were to raise the road, then we would basically raise the entrance points to the condominiums on either side, and they would basically, we can't put curbing in there along, we can't raise the road because they already drop down into their driveways. To raise it up means it would be, they wouldn't be able to get access into their parking areas. So we have to retain the elevation of No Name Road the way it is. We're going to improve the surface, but we're not going to change the grades appreciably in there.
It does flood out there.
That's an unfortunate situation. It's a current situation that it is like I say, it's a coastal floodplain, and there's nothing we can do about that. This is our traffic design for Commander Shea and then No Name. What we're going to do is widen out the pavement on this side. There's salt marsh on this side. Let me step back a second. In fact, let me show a different drawing. This shows the resource areas. We have an ACEC here for the Neponset River ACEC, which goes out to the 100-foot buffer zone. We've got a salt marsh line, the salt marsh that comes in here, and then a coastal bank line that's in here. And then floodplain, the entire site is within that coastal floodplain. So the road will flood during a big storm. There's nothing we could do about that without raising it many, many feet, which we would not want to do. So this is the Commander Shea part of the project. The continuation of No Name Road comes up to Quincy Shore Drive. This is the crosswalk that I was talking about that will be added to the intersection. There is an existing paved island here, which will be made into a grass island, so it'll be impervious, or pervious, I should say. We're not really doing too much in terms of changing the road configuration. There is a sidewalk down one side. We're going to be adding a sidewalk down the other side, so there'll be sidewalks on both sides of the road now, where there currently is only on one side. These sidewalks will tie into the sidewalks along Quincy Shore Drive, and then also come down and tie into the sidewalks along Commander Shea. So there'll be a continuous connection throughout the area. We are widening, as I say, to push the road out a little bit so that we can put that turning lane in. We're pushing out a little bit along in here, about 12 to 13 feet of pavement to add that lane, that turning lane. We're staying out of any bank area or certainly out of salt marsh. And that'll make room for that turning lane that will improve the traffic flow in the area, which is, there's a little island here though, sort of a protection pocket for the turning pocket. Trucks will sit in here, then they'll turn. One of the other things we're doing on No Name, it's a fairly wide paved area. It's wider than it needs to be. We're going to be basically putting a striped zone down one side of it to visually narrow up the road. When you have a road that's too wide, people don't know where to go on it, and they go everywhere on it, and you get sort of chaotic traffic flow. So by narrowing up the travel lane, it sort of channels people, makes them understand where they're supposed to go, and it makes traffic flow actually better. We're retaining the pavement just because trucks that might have to overturn to get through the area, it'll still have the pavement surface for them to ride on. For drainage, we are improving drainage in the area. Right now, when No Name Road was built, the roadway drainage mingles in with the parking lot drainage for the adjacent properties. The city, there is a long-term plan of possibility where the city would take over both of these roads. What the city wanted to do in the process of doing this project was to separate that drainage so that the roadway drainage is separate from the adjacent properties. So what we are doing is we are, we are adding some catch basins. We're adding a couple catch basins here, bringing that drainage down the road and disconnecting it. Right now there's a catch basin, I think right about here, and it cuts over into the, drains into the parking lot and joins the parking lot drainage system. We're going to disconnect that, replace these catch basins, and bring that drainage down the road in a new system, and then tie into an outfall which is right here. So there's an existing drainage outfall that this drainage operates partially on, and we're going to tie into that so we don't have any new outfalls going out to the water. The drainage from the parking lots will then be kept in place and intact. They'll continue to function the way they function now. The roadway drainage will be separate from that, and therefore if and when the city takes over the roads, they'll have a drainage system that is their responsibility to maintain and not with the adjacent properties. We also are putting, for drainage along Commander Shea, we're putting in a infiltration channel along here. There's a double dash line right through here. It's going to be a trench in the ground filled with stone with a perforated pipe at the bottom. Water will be allowed to sheet flow off the road into that, get collected, and then that'll come down and get tied into a manhole just over the existing outfall pipe and go through, any overflow will go through, so to the outfall. So that will serve to create infiltration, which doesn't exist there, and stormwater treatment as well. To try to address the flooding issues which the community, the area has, where water backs up the drain pipes during a storm, we'll be adding a manhole at our outfall in this location and putting what's called a tide flex valve in. It's basically a rubber valve that would normally be closed, but when the water pressure in the back of it is sufficient, it'll open up and let the water out. When you have tidal flow coming in or storm flow coming in, and that pressure on the outside is greater than the pressure on the inside, it'll actually close and prevent that tidal water from pushing up into the pipe. So that'll reduce the amount of water, say, bubbling out of catch basins. If the water comes up high enough that it overtops everything, then everything's going to flood, and there's nothing we can do about that. And that's pretty much it.
Do you believe that the city's gonna eventually buy this road?
I don't know that they would buy it, but I think they would accept it.
Eventually take it over?
That is being discussed. This work is part of maybe that plan. They wouldn't have accepted it without these improvements. I can't speak to when that might happen, but I do know there is consideration for that.
Do we have any questions?
No, at this point.
Yeah, I do. On page sheet 17 of 25, you have a proposed type 3 barricades on the sidewalks. I see it in 3 locations. 2 of them at the no name.
Is that part of the temporary traffic control plan
Okay,
Oh,
for
okay.
construction?
okay, just during
Yeah, that's just
construction.
for construction.
Okay.
Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak?
Eric Salomon, 90 Quincy Shore Drive, 711. So it abuts Boston Scientific or Scannell's property, and it's part owner of the main road. So 2 procedural questions. One would be part of the review process, you know, it states whether the buffer zone must apply for order of conditions, which I guess this is. Applicants must also obtain a list of abutters from the assessor's office so that the abutters can be notified of the proposed project. Again, as typical with Scannell, FedEx, or Boston Scientific, they didn't do that, so I'm the only one here because I read the meeting agenda. So
That's not true. We did get a certified list from the butter, and it's in the notice of intent.
I've lived there 6 years, I haven't got a letter, so.
Does it normally go to each individual owner?
In the case of the condominium complexes, the requirements of the Wetlands Protection Act are that the association be notified, not each individual owner.
Bush league, but I guess so.
Well, I didn't make the rules, the state did. And we did that, we notified the associations. It's the association's responsibility to notify the landowners, or the condo owners.
Sure, so anyways,
I would complain to them if you didn't, are you one of the condo owners?
yes.
Well, then I'd complain to your association.
Well, I'm gonna complain to you, because this is a terrible plan, and this is gonna be the worst engineered plan I've seen. I'm baffled at this one, to be honest with you. But again, starting with procedural, one other question for the board, I forget, I'm sorry, I don't know you guys' names, Maureen Glenn.
You know why, yeah.
So, are you recusing yourself on this one as well, similar to the planning
I
board?
am very confused. Why am I supposed to recuse myself?
Only because you have on the planning board. I have no knowledge of what your relationship
I'm
is.
not on the planning board. She's an attorney. She happens to have the same name I do.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Two different
I'm
Maureen
not an
Glenn?
attorney. I'm a conservation person. Maureen Glenn bought a unit from me one time in the purchase and sales rep. Broker is not related to buyer. We have the same name, and her husband is one of our members here, Tom Kelly. And she's Maureen Glenn. I'm not on the planning board.
Okay, that's great. So, I mean, that's easy.
I'm glad I'm not.
I know, because we don't have a
I
forum,
got
so
enough
I
of that
can't.
tonight, being one of 2,000 residents at Marina Bay. I've already heard it too.
That's why I was wondering, I heard Marine Bay, so.
I happen to have been, I don't even know if I sold to you. I think I might have been your realtor many years ago.
I don't know. I only been there about 6 years, but.
Yeah. I'm not sure either. 7-Eleven sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Anyway, I had no intention of recusing myself.
Okay, that's good. So now we have quorum. So I'm a little confused before I get into why, this is essentially legal. So you're widening it by a road. Where's that space coming from?
We're widening the road. There's a layout for the road that goes out beyond the limit of the pavement. And the widening will be within that layout over in this area.
Within the existing line?
Yep.
I mean, how are you gonna, I mean, the road, are you making the road bigger?
We're making it about 13 feet wider at its greatest point.
So you're making it 13 feet wide. Where are the 13? Is it coming from the salt marsh, or is it coming from?
Nope.
So it's coming from our property? So you
No,
wanna steal our property?
Can I answer?
Sure.
Okay. It's coming from, the edge of pavement is along here, we're gonna be pushing out to this side. But there's enough land in there to be able to do that without going beyond the break in the slope, which is the coastal bank. So there's a vegetated area,
Right.
shelf along the edge of the road. We're pushing out into that vegetated shelf without going beyond it to go either into the coastal bank or into the salt marsh beyond.
So you are gonna remove all the vegetation along the side of the road?
In the, not all of it, but that which we need to, yeah.
Yeah, but that's, the thing's not 13 feet. I mean, the difference of the road is, can only be,
Well,
from
it's
the
a lake.
roadway to the actual salt marsh, can only, there's a few scrub brushes and
It's a little wider than that.
maybe a little, and arms don't stretch that far, but 13 feet is, from here to the wall probably, and you don't have that much space. So anyways, getting back to, again, one more procedural thing is, as not owners of the no-name road, I know there's an easement that they're still fighting over, what rights different groups have, but why would you propose to improve my road?
No Name Road?
Yeah.
We were asked to do that
By who?
by the city.
Okay. I don't know why the city's playing with our roads either, but, great. So, focusing on the environmental again, and thank you for indulging me there in terms of some procedural stuff. Focusing just on the environmental, because I know this is an environmental or a conservation committee. It's coming from Mass.gov and the Department of Environmental Production. The salt marshes that ring around Boston Harbor is, essentially lost about 81% since colonial times. So the ones remaining are very important. And there's one excerpt I do want to read because it gets to, essentially all the nonsense about making it better is actually going to make it worse. Salt marsh habitats play a critical role in protecting coastal areas from potential impacts of sea level rise. If able to mitigate and adapt unimpeded, salt marshes may lessen the adverse impacts associated with sea level rise, including increases in coastal flooding, storm surges, and erosion. As sea levels rise, a healthy salt marsh is more likely to capture sediment, keep pace with sea level rise. However, salt marshes that are degraded, either with invasive species, history of ditching, or have been cut off from sediment sources and natural tide sources, may not be effectively able to respond to sea level rise. Additionally, this is the important part, where hardened structures are built to the salt marsh edge, the salt marsh does not have the space available to mitigate inland as sea levels rise. In situations where salt marshes are degraded or lack of space to mitigate landward, the ecosystem functions they provide, including protection against sea level rise, can be greatly diminished or lost. Essentially, we're taking a natural barrier that, that scrub brush that they plan on getting rid of and paving over with a hard barrier is essential to the salt marsh itself. Just because it's not part of the salt marsh, that's why you have to have this, they extend it out 100 feet, because these areas, and while limited, and the road's been there since, the 60s before the Environmental Protection Act, but that little bit of 13 feet worth of scrub brush and small trees, the natural soil, the root system, as sea levels rise or storm surges occur, it absorbs that stuff. Now, we can put in hard barriers, and yeah, it'll work great for, the first couple of years, and in a couple of years, it won't, and it will be worse off. Wetlands Restoration Baking Program, put out by Massachusetts Executive Office of Environmental Affairs in January 2000, identified Quincy salt marshes as a priority area of protection. To me, this is the opposite. This is getting rid of it. Our surrounding communities, even ones I don't have very high opinions of, Dorchester, Milton, Mattapan, they've all put in additional protections upon the Ponset River, you know, and brought it back to the natural. I don't know if anyone's done the walking path down the Ponset River. They've reversed a lot of the, you know, the negative impacts, and now it's gone back to this natural, or more natural state. You know, this again, Quincy, environmental board, this would be proposing the opposite. And then finally, in terms of, why this violates the Environmental Protection Act, 310 CMR 10.32, proposed project in a salt marsh on lands with 100 feet of a salt marsh or in a body of water adjacent to a salt marsh shall not destroy any portion of the salt marsh, and importantly, shall not have an adverse effect on the productivity of the salt marsh. Alterations in growth, distribution, and composition of salt marsh vegetation that they want to chop down shall be considered in evaluating adverse effects and productivity. And this is, aside from the planning stuff that I'll have to get into when they try to get this through the planning board, environmentally, this is a disaster. I'm shocked as an environmental guy that you would propose this as better. It's the minor impacts to the flow through of the flooding of the street occurs on No Name Road. Heavy rains, yeah, we get a little puddle there. But we're not talking about, floodplains where these people are talking about 3 feet of water. You put up a little spray as you drive through it. It's not terrible. What's more important is during, the blizzards that we had a few years ago, heavy storms during high tides, that water right now comes right up to the edge of the road. Now, right now it doesn't flood, which is great, and as sea levels rise, hopefully we have that protection of that buffer so that it can continue to absorb. Right now, you're going to put a hard wall, and as he said, if the water goes over, well, it goes over. Well, that's not good enough for me, because it's not going over right now, because we have that natural barrier, that vegetative state around the salt marsh that not only protects the salt marsh, it protects us from coastal flooding, and this would just put, essentially hundreds of condo units at a greater risk for flooding. So, in summary, against the law, terrible design, non-consistent with previous Massachusetts initiatives on the Ponset River, and really an embarrassment to Quincy if this goes forward. Thank you. And I ask that you, essentially decline it with prejudice so that we don't have to continue to go through Scanal's useless applications.
I have one question. That land, that 13 feet that you're going to be taking, does that include any of the Ponset River walkway that runs from?
No, the walkway actually isn't on this side of the road. It comes across and is using the sidewalk on this side of the road.
At that point?
Yeah.
And then it crosses over to go underneath the bridge?
I believe that's where it crosses over, yeah. There's no
To the
walk.
left of that intersection.
There's no walk on this side.
I actually did the final on that, and it does cross over and go right in under.
Of course, there's no sidewalk once you get past that. I mean, they're more, you want to put 2 sidewalks down one street, you don't have a sidewalk going down the remainder of the street. So if you, to your point, if you go, again, I'll take it up with the planning board, the truck traffic, this is going to make things worse, not better, in terms of traffic. But again, story for another day. If you continue going straight, the sidewalk ends, and then you continue on. So you have all those people walking North Quincy Station that are walking down the middle of the road because there's no sidewalk. And apparently, it's more important for Scanal and to have a better on-ramp for their FedEx trucks that they're trying to put in there, than actually putting a sidewalk in for the residents around the area. Again, these are terrible people that we're dealing with. Scanal is there anyone from Scanal or FedEx or Boston Scientific here? They haven't shown up at any meeting. I've been at 10 to 12 meetings on their garbage proposals, and they just keep trickling in, trying to catch the board off guard, accept, what is essentially proposals that harm the
request
residents.
the commission to keep the discussion to the wetlands protection agreement.
Yeah, I think at this point, is there anybody else that wants to discuss this? And if so, we're gonna close this. It's time to take a vote.
All right, I'll move to close the hearing.
Yeah. Okay. What are we gonna do though?
Okay, issue an order of conditions at the next meeting.
All right, I'll second that one.
Okay, all in favor?
Okay.
Okay, all four of us. Okay. I also did not read into the record on this 31 Babcock Street, and this is from the planning board. No, it's not.
But, sorry, before we move on, what was the verdict on that one?
Pardon me?
Issue the order of conditions on next meeting.
Order of conditions next meeting?
Yeah.
So not
We've
denied
closed the hearing,
prejudice?
that's all.
Oh, okay.
No, it was voted for four of us to have it go forward with an order of conditions, which means that they have to go by the rules of the Wetland Protection Act. The order of conditions.
Okay.
It's approved.
It's approved.
Oh, it's approved?
Yeah.
You guys approved that?
We approved it with an order of conditions.
With conditions.
That's embarrassing, I'm sorry.
We're gonna jump back to 31 Babcock. I should have read this from the civil engineer, and I did not. We have reviewed the submittal for the above referred project, and our comments are as follows. Install a curb, stop, valve, and locks. The proposed cleanout for the sewer pipe should have two 22.5-degree elbows and one 45-degree elbow. Details can be obtained from the city sewer and water department. Upon completion of the project, as built plan showing all utilities, building footprints, reference bounds, and benchmarks defining the total site, facilities, and right-of-ways needed to be submitted along with the digital file. The as-built plan shall be stamped and signed by a professional land surveyor or professional engineer. If further information is required, please advise. And I'm assuming they got a copy of this also, so we've now read this into the record. Okay, is there any other business?
There's what you call them, there.
Certificate of compliance on 1022 Hancock.
Yeah, I know what he left you, but they were by me.
Bye-bye.
Meet you, but. It's a different one. I see, he must have stepped out. And John was by there, right, John? Yeah. And everything was okay.
No, it's certificate of compliance.
Yeah.
1022 Hancock Street.
I've got a different page here. Your order, you're out of order.
All right.
We're good.
Or does he have a different page? He does have a different page.
I got a different page.
Yeah.
I don't have a second page.
No, you don't have the same one we do, Jim.
Okay.
Anyway, this is a certificate of compliance for 1022 Hancock Street.
Yes.
It's not you, Chris?
It's okay.
It's all set, okay, so we don't have anybody in the
We
audience.
did have for a long, long time, I think we got fed up. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay, all set.
So who's voting on that?
Are we voting on the compliance?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, I make the vote.
okay. Second.
Okay.
Yeah, John.
All in favor?
Yep.
Okay. All right,
Now, Chris,
Chris is next.
this is the other business, I don't know if you read this.
Yeah, I didn't see any of
No,
that.
this is the-
Okay. This is
Madam
on
Chair,
the-
this is a request for an emergency certification to replace a collapsed wall on a piece of property at 127 Rockland Street.
Give us your name, please, for the record.
For the record, Christopher Harrington, my law office is at 21 McGrath Highway. I represent the property owner, Patricia Canavan, who's the applicant in this case.
Is that the one I stopped at, yes, the other day?
I believe so. There's some photographs of the property, so as I'm explaining what's going on, you can see.
Yep. What's that?
Mind you?
In this first photograph, the large two-story white house that's in the center of the photograph with the pier in front of it is Miss Canavan's property. This is a photograph that was taken, we don't know the date, but it was taken many years ago prior to her ownership of the house. The second page are 3 photographs of the pier itself off the back of the house over the water. And the next photograph, which has 2 lawn chairs in the top of the photograph, this is the concrete block wall that was on the property at the time that she purchased the property. This wall was bowed and it was falling over, and it was in an unsafe condition. And if you look at the next photograph, you can see that the footing of the wall was undermined on the ocean side of the property. This wall was in a bad state. It was ready to fall over. Ms. Canavan removed the old wall, and if you look at the final page, the photographs, the photograph on the left-hand side, she removed the old wall. One of the reasons why that wall failed is because it didn't have a proper footing under it. So she removed the old wall, she put down a proper footing, and began replacing the wall with larger, stronger, more sturdy concrete blocks. And so she is in the process of replacing this wall as we speak. The wall is partially replaced, partially rebuilt. Also, getting back to that first photograph showing the pier on the front of the house, that pier is, one end of that pier is supported by the top of this wall. So after rebuilding this wall, her intention is to rebuild the pier that shows in that photograph as well. But the pier that she's planning on rebuilding is approximately half the size of the one that's in that photograph. Ms. Canavan is here with me this evening. She's right behind me in the audience. Her contractor, Mr. Solomini, is also here. If you have any questions about specifically what's being built and how it's being built, he'd be happy to answer those questions for you.
I think this is my fault. I think what happened was I was looking for another site on Rockland Street to inspect, and I saw his trucks there. I stopped in just to see what was going on, and it was a different address. What Mr. Solomini was under the impression was that the house at the end of this picture had done some repairs that we agreed to his seawall, and he thought that because it was just a continuation of the seawall, he'd repair it too. I told him, not quite the same, you still have to come before us just to get permission. We had him before us, we need you to come before us. That was the only issue, just to get it on the record.
Okay. I have no problem with continuing the,
Yeah.
I mean, to.
The work he was doing was excellent. It was all set in, concrete, the whole works.
I'd just like to report to the commission, I also went down, I got called as a result of a complaint. I too thought they were doing a good job.
Yeah.
I thought that they should come here tonight to get permission and put it on the record. Otherwise, if the commission approves this tonight, I'll issue a building permit for this tomorrow. Thank you.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this wall is in the exact same location as the wall that was there, and it's not any closer to.
It's a repair job, but the problem was.
It's a repair, it's not any closer to the ocean than the wall that was there before.
Yeah,
the problem is
all
it's
we
on the
needed
water.
to know what was going on.
I'd like to apologize for that. I was under the assumption that an emergency repair wasn't required. There's no permitting process for a wall repair anyways. But, you know, I know that you do have to come in and at least ask.
We just kind of like to know what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. So I apologize for that. That was my fault.
Okay, you won't do that again.
Absolutely not.
How do you spell your
All
last
right.
name?
S-O-L-I? M-I-N-I.
Is there
It's a
anybody
fine
else
act.
that wants to speak on this? Are we all set?
Yeah, so I moved it that the operation is permissible.
Second it.
All in favor?
All right.
Set.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Have a good one.
John, I do the same thing. I've had to actually take my ID up and call the cruiser. You know, so it happens.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? What, you know, you say to the person, what are you doing? And they look at me like,
Yeah.
okay, here's the bed. Not often. Usually it's cringy about that. Yes, that's right tonight. We need help on this stuff. We need those lamps. We really do. And they're taking some of 90 Quincy Shore Drive's land to put that extra lane in. Now put a set of lights to get us out of the marina in the morning. That's the next step.
I just put you in, should be done. Okay, that's all right. Keep your hand on the
Same thing on a small one. I'm gonna say Tim was back in the day, somebody didn't know because he wanted that shit all the way.
What does Jeff do?
Nobody would.
Yeah, want to close the
That
meeting?
area down there.
Meeting is closed.
Motion to close, yep.
Front side.
Second.
I'll talk this over to you and find out when he's coming.
Like with you?
Yeah, you need a signature on
That
it.
should be a federal grant.
15
So
hours.
we never know, she got time though?
She wasn't here.
Thank you for coming.
I mean, she could sign it, but she's not number 4.
Half the time.
We have to
She,
be number
oh,
5.
we haven't signed 215 Adams, do we have to wait for Jeff?
We had water.
Say that again? What?
215 Adams.
That's why.
No, so he'll sign it
Oh,
from
signature.
Another signature, yeah.
He's already.
I asked about
Just sign
it.
it.
You don't know this
Then
one.
don't sign it for you. Don't sign that one? Don't sign,
You wasn't here for all the whole thing.
no, oh, this one here. This is mine. Don't sign, she already signed it.
Want me to cross it out?
That's
It should be number 5 anyway.
She'll be number 5, that's
Okay.
And Jeff is number 4. So
Yeah.
if I start accusing you, Jesus, I got black tonight, Raquel. I know. Raquel's wife's maiden name is Maureen Glenn.
That's not, it's
And
fine.
she goes by that.
I asked him. It's not.
Sure, I sold him a condo.
He told me no, and I asked him, he said no.
Even in
I'm
more.
telling you, I said, your wife didn't, he said no.
Where's his address?
Who's
Tom Carroll, where's Tom Carroll live?
He lives down there. German, not Germantown, how's next?
Maybe they got a divorce.
No, he married, he said.
He was the husband when I sold him Louisburg Square 25 years ago.
Well, this day and age.
You never know anymore. Whose husband's on here?
He just down there.
He didn't learn after the first time, huh?
Well, anyway, she's an attorney, and Dan Ramon calls me on the phone. I didn't know you were an attorney. I said, I'm not. Well, how did you get on the planning board? I said, I'm not.
But he was supposed to be here tonight.
Who?
Tom? Carol.
Thank God we got Tori here too.
Did he sign that last one?
Oh, it's
I think you got, I signed that one?
Sometimes we don't have
Okay,
four.
that's why I asked.
You can't have a meeting.
No, I actually didn't go.
I don't, didn't sign that one either.
No, he didn't.
As long as there's no salt marks.
What's it, 20?
Yeah.
You're still part of us. You're right.
You're right.
More, no,
We need you to show up.
Okay.
Do that one. As long as you have an existing can of salt marsh and that.
These were both mine, weren't they? Oh, one of these are John's.
No, it is extra.
On the other side, I hold by
All right, that covers it.
Yeah, 2 more feet, it's extra.
Oh, I don't think these were emergencies. We had a run on emergencies in the last few years. Now all the seawalls are gonna have to, all the bridges, all the seawalls, they're all built at the same time.
I heard all of you, I didn't have, I didn't think it's actual. You said all black and blue. You know, Jim was at heart surgery, that was 2 weeks ago.
I know, I didn't expect to see this coming.
That one's up.
Think you're gonna get sympathy from us? Come on.
You must be getting near the 50-year mark for the Conservation Commission. How many years are you on?
Let me see, back in the
You were here in the
60s, 68, I think.
1968?
Next year.
I don't know, but we're getting near the 50, so I think we should let our wonderful